You are listening to Book Clips, a mini podcast in which authors or narrators do readings from novels. Check out the show notes for the synopsis and buy links for this book.
Hello, this is Brenda Murphy, and I'll be reading from my novel, Some of the Whole, the first book in the Rowan House series. Chapter 3. Jaya stood in the courtyard in front of the stable. The soft sounds of birds interrupted the morning quiet. She had been up most of the night thinking about the ride she had planned. A woman led a large bay fully tacked out for Jaya. Jaya considered her before settling on Sarah. Her faded jeans fit her like a second skin, showing off her curves. She had the sleeves rolled back on her loose chambray shirt to reveal the exquisite vine tattoos, accentuating the defined muscles in her arms. "I didn't get your name," Jaya tugged her black kidskin riding gloves on. "Octavia," the woman met Jaya's appraising gaze with one of her own. "Mistress." Enticed by the woman's boldness, Jaya considered altering her plan for the morning. Octavia held the reins and ran a hand down the horse's neck. "He's a real gentleman, mistress, all 17 hands of him. A real goer, but he won't leave you if you don't make a fence." She did nothing to hide the amusement in her eyes. Jaya supposed many people who came to Rowan House imagined themselves as better riders than they were. It had been years since Jaya had taken the time to ride. "I'm not planning on riding a steeplechase." She climbed the mounting block and settled into the saddle. She checked the fit of her stirrups and adjusted the length. "He's a good fit for you." The woman frowned as she caught sight of the crop Jaya had in her hand. She raised her chin and pointed to it. "You'll not be needing that, ma'am." Jaya rubbed the bay's neck. "Rest easy. I would never use a crop on." She raised the crop and traced the edge of Octavia's cheek with it, looking into the woman's eyes. "Any horse. This is a pleasure ride this morning." "Do you fancy company, mistress?" Octavia rested her hand on Jaya's boot, her eyes full of hope. "I could show you some sights." Her generous mouth spread wide in a smile. Jaya wanted to dismount and kiss the grin right off her face. She cupped the woman's cheek and traced her thumb over her full lower lip. "Maybe tomorrow." A purposeful scuff of boots on gravel made her look up. Sarah stood in the courtyard in tan jodhpurs and a white shirt. Her brow was furrowed and her mouth set in a thin line. She stood with her hands on her hips. After releasing Octavia, Jaya waved for Sarah to come over. "Good morning." She patted the saddle in front of her. "Climb up." Sarah hesitated. Octavia grinned. She took Sarah's hand and led her to the mounting block. Jaya slid back on the saddle and Sarah sat in front of her. The horse sidestepped and tossed his head. Sarah clutched the pommel. "Lucky you." Octavia patted Sarah's leg and gave Jaya a wink before she headed back to the stable. "You'll have to use your thighs to hold your seat." Jaya urged the horse on at an easy walk. "We all start here in the stables, mistress." "It's not my first time on a horse." Sarah leaned back into her. "How long have you worked here?" "I started this summer after I graduated college, mistress." "And how long is that?" 3 years, mistress." Sarah's voice and her clipped delivery made Jaya leave off asking any more questions. She focused on the feel of Sarah's body caught within her arms, and the press of her hips against her thighs. Her ass pressed against Jaya with every step the horse took, and her nipples were hard from the contact with Sarah and the thought of what was to come. The lush grass surrounding the house was wet with dew, and the air was cool. The sensation of the controlled power between Jaya's thighs, the bunch and flex of the horse's muscles as she increased his pace, increased her excitement. She held him back, letting him warm up. The horse snorted and tossed his head, working out his muscles. His energy filled Jaya, his desire to run as great as her own. They crested a low hill and a flat plain spread out before them. A small copse of trees marked the end of the field. "Hold on." Jaya gathered herself and urged the horse forward. She held him to a canter until they reached the flat, and then she gave him his head and they charged on at a full gallop. The wind rushed past them and Sarah clung tightly to the pommel, leaning down as Jaya did. They stretched out as one over the horse's neck. They rushed on across the field until the edge of the woods came into view, and Jaya slowed him, easing his pace until he was walking when they entered the trail through the woods. The woods were dark and chill after the bright morning. Sarah shivered and squirmed against Jaya. She inhaled the warm scent of Sarah's skin, a delicious combination of sandalwood and citrus, intertwined with the smell of her excitement. They traveled deeper into the quiet woods, letting the course cool down until they reached a clearing. Thick stumps circled a stone fire ring. A small fenced area with a turnout shed stood off to the side. Jaya dismounted and helped Sarah down from the saddle. Her nipples stiffened with the drag of Sarah's body against her own. When her feet touched the ground, Jaya kissed her, taking her time to explore the soft regions of her mouth. She'd been too impatient the night before, but now she went at a slower pace. The horse shifted, tugging the reins, and Jaya broke their kiss. "Give me a minute." She walked the horse to the fenced area and closed the gate. She loosened the bridle and slipped it over his head. The shed was equipped with racks and pegs to hold the tack. She unbuckled the girth and pulled the saddle and pad off him. She placed the equipment on the saddle rack. The horse pushed his nose into her hand. Jaya rubbed his neck, her thoughts going back to the horse she'd owned as a girl, a persnickety red mare she had loved. Her father had sold her as soon as Jaya left for college. She leaned her head against the horse's neck. "He likes you." Sarah's quiet voice brought her back from the melancholy thoughts threatening to derail her plans for the morning. "He's wonderful." Jaya turned. Sarah stood naked, her clothes piled neatly beside her boots. "And so are you." Jaya left the horse to his hay and water, locking the gate behind her. She eased her shirt off, her nipples hardened in the cool air. Jaya allowed her dark side to surface with Sarah, the part of her that thrilled in giving and receiving pain. The beast within she kept on a short leash. She made a show of pulling her riding gloves off before tucking them into her pocket. She walked around Sarah. Jaya stopped behind her and scraped her nails over the marks she had made the night before. This has been Brenda Murphy reading from my novel, Some of the Whole.
You have been listening to Book Clips. Check out the show notes for the synopsis and buy links for this book. If you are interested in showcasing your novel, then check out the show notes for more information.